Hello and welcome to another episode of Ask a Paranormal Investigator. My name is Matt and I'm a paranormal investigator. So ask me stuff. Now, this week, we're going to be tackling a very serious topic. This is absolutely fear you can't flush. This is, how should I say this? You cannot relieve yourself from this terror. Of course, I'm talking about toilet ghosts, haunted bathrooms. There are more than you think, and they catch you in a very vulnerable place, to say the least. But these kind of things happen in businesses such as restaurants and bars, pubs. It also can be something that happens in your own home. Now, I have several stories to tell you about some toilet ghosts that I've encountered and some possible explanations. So let's talk. So the first one we're going to talk about is a restaurant in Littleton, Colorado. Now, this restaurant has a very haunted ladies' room, haunted by a pervert who likes to breathe heavily and disturb the ladies that are in there trying to whether it be go to the bathroom or wash their hands or whatever. But yeah, there's lots of heavy breathing that goes on in there, or just these sudden exhales that happen. He will also turn the water faucets on and off, created a very creepy environment. Now, I did spend an entire evening in the ladies' room with my cameras and everything ready to catch anything. Okay, the restaurant was closed, so no one was going in there. I wasn't the pervert that night, but I did witness these things, and we'll go into a little more detail on that one shortly. Another one is in Denver, Colorado, and it's a two-story building. It is a restaurant, and only the upstairs bathrooms are affected, but it is both the men and women's bathrooms that are seemingly haunted. Now, it's interesting because the manager of the place was telling me how at night he has to go upstairs and check to make sure there's nobody left in the building. And he'll have to go up there by himself and walk down this long hallway to these bathrooms and check them out and make sure everything's okay. And as he leaves the bathrooms to come back down this dark hallway, he always felt like he was being followed. And it was a very unnerving feeling for him. So as soon as he got to where he had to turn off the light at one end of the hallway, he would run like crazy down to the other end to be able to go back down the stairs to the main floor. And I do find that a little amusing because it reminds me of when we were kids, how we would turn off the light and then run and jump as far as we could to get into our bed before the monster under the bed would grab us by the ankles. Very, very similar story here. But that's not the only experience he had. One time when he went up to check the bathrooms, he felt nature call. And he went into one of the stalls and sat down. And as he was sitting there, someone came in. Very heavy door pushed open to the men's room, and he could hear the footsteps walking around. And he called to the assistant manager that was in the building that night, assuming it was him. No answer. So he got down, he bent down and tried to look under the stall to see if he could see, shoes or something out there, and he saw nothing, absolutely nothing. And then the sound just stopped. He could hear someone moving around in there, and then it just stopped. The door did not open. And once he got up and walked out of the stall, no one was there. But that's not the only story there. A woman in the ladies' bathroom had an almost identical experience. I myself was in that bathroom when no one else was around, and I also had the same experience. It sounded like boots on these hard floors, walking around in there, and nobody was there. It's a very bizarre experience. The place had some interesting vibes to it, to say the very least. Now, we can also talk about private residences. There was a house in northern Colorado that I investigated that among uh, the phenomena that they were experiencing was, one, a toilet that seemed to flush, like a ghost was flushing the toilet in the middle of the night when you would walk down the hallway, and just jar and scare the heck out of you. And then the bathroom, the ensuite that was connected to the master bedroom, there would be voices and singing coming from the bathroom. Both of these things were very jarring to them among the other things that were going on in the house. So you see, the toilet flushing, it's a fairly common one. Toilets do flush out of the blue if they have a leak, if the seal leaks. One of the ways you can test for this, and the way I tested for it, was using food coloring. Put a little food coloring in the tank, and if you later see food coloring going into the bowl, you know you have a leak. And that is just something you can simply fix, and the toilet will stop flushing on its own as long as a ghost is not involved. Now, in the master bedroom, they had a slightly different problem. That ensuite, the toilet, the float was not set properly, so it constantly had a small flow of water going into the tank. And the water that was going in was then draining through the top of the pipe there inside of the tank. So you couldn't really hear it all that much, but when everything was silent, you could hear just this sort of babbling sound of that water dripping in there, the babbling brook sort of sound. And in that, there is a lot of potential for hearing things, the apophenia that I had talked about in previous episodes. And if you sat for a while, you could hear singing. You could hear conversations going on that you couldn't quite tell what they were saying, but it was all just an illusion because of that sort of white noise that is created from the babbling water. So that takes care of the residential ones. But let's talk about that first one in Littleton, the creepy, heavy breathing ghost. So I go into this bathroom and I sit down and I wait and I wait. And sure enough, as soon as I tire of it and get back up and walk out, I hear this kind of sound. Took me a little bit off guard. But admittedly, after composing myself, I looked around and there was an automatic air freshener that has a motion sensor on it. When it sees you coming out of the stall or, that kind of movement, it waits a few moments and puts out a gust, a little puff of air freshener. It's very considerate in that sense. It wasn't heavy breathing the entire time. It was, the restaurant owners trying to keep the bathrooms as pleasant as possible. But what about the faucets turning on and off? Well, as soon as word got around that there was a heavy breathing ghost in that bathroom, different groups or amateur paranormal investigators, when they would go into the bathroom, would try to snap pictures of everything in the bathroom. Now, the thing is on these cameras, often they have a laser focusing mechanism on them, where a laser beam is sent out, and then the amount of time it takes for that laser beam to return autofocuses the camera. And the problem is there's also a sensor on the sinks, and that when your hand goes over it, the sink would turn on automatic. So they would point this camera at it, the laser would go out, hit that sensor, the sink would turn on, and they would suddenly believe that there was a ghost in there with them, turning on the faucet and messing with them. But no, it was just amateur ghost hunters not understanding their own equipment. Again. Even in movies, toilets are terrifying. We all remember the Amityville Horror and how utterly terrifying and disgusting it was when that toilet started belching back up that black sludge. And it brought to mind blood. It brought to mind a horrible bowel movement. And it was just overall creepy because it seemed to be coming from a paranormal place. There are a lot of movies that have pushed the idea of haunted bathrooms, among other things. But the thing is a bathroom is an incredibly vulnerable place. It really catches you with your pants down, so to speak. And it's hard to run in that kind of situation. There's nothing worse than a toilet ghost. Well, nothing worse than a toilet ghost or not hitting that like button and subscribe button. If we're going to keep this channel going, we need you. Keep us going. Hit the like button for that YouTube algorithm and keep us floating for a little while longer. We appreciate it. But I want to thank you guys for joining me again on Ask a Paranormal Investigator, and I'll see you next time.